Hello, hello. Here, I'm going to put this up so you're not looking in the viewfinder at my ugly mug the whole time. I've been really struggling with two reviews lately, one of which I've got out, The Acid House. I finally got the review out. I think this might have more to do, that one might just have more to do with I was in a bit of a funk. This second one, though, I think has got more to do with the size and just trying to kind of figure out what my attack is going to be on this book. How am I gonna get to it? Which is, of course, it is like, comment, and subscribe inside YouTube's Chaotic Rise to World Domination by Mark Bergen. So I thought, because I know today I am not going to actually get a review done, that I would just do a little video trying to kind of work through what do I want to do in a review of this book. Is it just a straight review? Am I capable of doing a review, just a straight review of this book? I guess I am. I don't know how useful that would be. There's definitely a strong part of myself, like probably all YouTubers, you want to sound off and have your own opinion about the subject of the book. So I don't know if, is that valuable? So Know Nothing Bozo and what he thinks of the book and what he thinks of the state of YouTube today, that also may just be me kind of faffing on for 20, 40, 50 minutes on the subject. And I don't know if that's what I'm trying to figure out precisely what I am doing in this review. Because, you know, what is the book? I guess I could divide it up in saying, like, okay, what is this book? It is a book about, it's a business book about this corporation, YouTube. I could give context. I could say, you know, with the bursting of the tech-com bubble, what we've had now is the rise of these giant media corporations. Before that, it was the Wild West. There was a whole ton of little, relatively speaking to this things, little stuff. But then you get the rise of Google. You get the rise of Google, Amazon, YouTube, Facebook, you know, all the various kind of things, Twitter, Instagram, all the various companies, some of which have risen and fallen within that. You know, things like MySpace and stuff like this. A lot of these companies coming out of the model of GeoCities, where GeoCities, for all its silliness, came up with the idea that the users were also the content providers, which is a model that very much has been run with. YouTube was able to actually make a viable business model of paying its content users, you know, however, which is revolutionary for it. And indeed, some of the other companies are still scrambling to kind of catch up with that model. These are media companies that are a lot of, it's about ads. It's about selling users to big companies. And indeed, throughout Like, Comment, and Subscribe, it is got to do the actual existential challenges to the company, which are apart from the sort of controversies that come up by individual creators on the channel, has got to do with stuff like content ID, making sure how to deal with copyrighted material on this thing, pornography. These two were pretty easy to program computers to go, okay, zap, zap, where we know how we can deal with this stuff. That was fairly straightforward. What has been the big push and pull since then has been the actual content that gets delivered by YouTube. YouTube had very much had a attitude of hands-offness, like we're sort of free speech absolutists, other than what gets kind of termed as nightmare fuel. Obvious things like pornography, child pornography, and but when you get into hate speech, when you get into discussing sexual material, stuff like that, YouTube has had a lot more difficult of a road to hoe, because it is more difficult to automize that. And indeed, you can also get 10 people looking at something, and you can get 10 different viewpoints on what that is, from everything from it's very reprehensible to no, that's just somebody doing their own free speech. Now, the thing about this is that YouTube is an ad company. It is here to sell ads, like a lot of its brethren, and it's not when it comes down to it, it's not really that interested in it in a corporate sense, that it's going to catch its attention unless it threatens its business model. Thus, you have something like adpocalypse happening, where especially the old media began to highlight how much terrible content was getting shown beside major advertisers' ads, and that provoked a lot of the big companies to withdraw from YouTube for a while. That got YouTube's attention far more than suppressing any gay, lesbian, queer creator on the site would. Anything like that. It got far more attention. Getting woofing. So that's, that is a kind of a key. You look at the thing, because like, share, like, comment, subscribe talks about a lot of the eruptions that happen. I mean, I was kind of worried at the beginning, because this opens up with Christchurch Cathedral, the Christchurch Cathedral shooting in New Zealand, a horrific thing where the guy who perpetrated this began his massacre by saying, and remember, lads, subscribe to PewDiePie, who at that point was, I probably still is, one of the more gigantic creators, highly controversial creators in some quarters on YouTube. Definitely not ad-friendly fellow. Let's just put it that way. And at one point, YouTube had been partnered with him and had been putting him forward as a face of YouTube, but had his own kind of edgelord humor explode, which was not liked by advertisers. So yeah, it starts off with that, though the book actually, I think, it kind of puts that into context, and seeing, like, for YouTube, this wasn't like a horrible tragedy of 50 people getting murdered. This was, oh God, our brand is getting our media delivery system is getting tarred with this brush of being a horrible site for horrible extremists and murderers. And there's arguments to be made exactly what mainstream media, how much they had a kind of a financial incentive to tar the new media coming up that was taking away its ad dollars, was literally taking the money away from it, with saying, oh my God, how awful this is, when your television beams Tucker Carlson into you every week. There's plenty of horrible shit people on television as well, though far more gatekeeping. I mean, that's one of the benefits of something like YouTube, is there's less in the way of gatekeeping, though that has radically changed over time, and the further tightening of the algorithm, which I'll put quotations about, because the algorithm is talked about in very kind of, we kind of tweak the algorithm to catch this stuff, or we tweak the algorithm to do this. I don't know personally what the algorithm, what is that? That is a computer somewhere with some if-thens. If you hear these words, then put this at the bottom of the search. And if you hear all these words, then flag it as not being violating community standards. Or if it does this, if you see these images in there, then just yank it right out. That's what I'm assuming that a lot of the stuff is. And I mean, there's definitely the thing of YouTube as a Google company, owned by Google, which is, you know, now Alphabet. It's very much a machine run company. This is engineers who are not going to throw people at it. YouTube handles far too much video to have actually to be able to keep on top of all the videos, including this one being uploaded. So they have to depend on an algorithm of a computer program to kind of scan stuff, both image and things, for is this copyrighted material, is this hateful material, is this something that's talking about controversial subjects that are verboten for one reason or another at the moment. Some of them quite valid, other ones you think, you know, it'd be good to discuss this, but you know, we're not on a public forum, we're on a private company's platform here. And I mean, all this kind of swirls around the idea of YouTube is effectively a monopoly. There is not a competing, there is really no competition for YouTube in the video sharing biz. Yes, there's some other companies, oftentimes kind of weird backwaters of people who have been kicked off of YouTube for various reasons, often very unsavory ones that, you know, that have like a 1% share of the market versus the 99% that that something like YouTube has. I mean, even creators who felt stifled by the algorithm have gone off and are attempting to make kind of like little independent platforms like Nebula, where they're not subject to the kind of the demands of the algorithm or the various kind of strictures of like where if you talk about issues that you know, just being gay can suddenly trigger stuff. It's like, oh, this isn't advertiser friendly, we're going to demonetize this. Have gone off and tried to kind of create a kind of a different system that way. Don't know actually too much about Nebula. My impression is that it's owned by the creators, but that could be incorrect. I should look that up before I go shoot off my mouth in a more public forum. But you know, it's just like, it is YouTube itself, of the big tech media companies, seems to have kind of flown under the radar, even though it's probably equally as guilty for sharing misinformation, for spreading kind of hatred stuff, for, you know, having people gaming that algorithm to kind of really fuck up our information ecosystem, our political dynamic. It's this weird feedback loop that's been going on. So yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around exactly how to talk about this book, and how much this book is I think is sort of a jumping off point for discussing YouTube and social media in general. It is coming at it from a business book perspective, so a lot of the stuff it slides into just sort of being business challenges when it is a far wider discussion. But the thing is, I you know, I don't particularly blame Mark Bergen for that. In some ways, this is really just good, basic, solid journalism at the front of it. He actually, one of the things that I should definitely say in a review of this book is that he interviewed 160 former or current YouTube and Google employees, oftentimes off the record, you know, anonymously, because of the various strictures for you can't, NDAs basically, that you can't reveal the inner workings of the company. Nobody at the top of Google or YouTube would talk to him. And it doesn't sound like they do that many particular interviews as it is. If it's not just carefully just picked and chosen. You get the sense of exactly how powerful, and in some ways just how unaccountable this place that we all work on is. It is a monopoly. It doesn't have to listen to its creators, and for the most part, governments are reluctant to kind of push into it. And I mean, I guess it's the question of how much you want government to be regulated. Would you want the government to be regulating this, and what government? It's an American company. Do I, as a Canadian, want an American company regulating where so much discourse happens, whether it's YouTube, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Google, or all the other ones? It's like it's that touchy thing. This is the public square, but it's not owned by the public, and is run by people who are accountable to shareholders, not to citizens. And citizens should be at the top, the top priority, and shareholders. Yep, you want to make money, but that it's like, unfortunately, you do feel like we live in a society where shareholders run our world, and that's not good, because the majority of us are not shareholders. I'm not. All right, I will leave it there for the moment. Still obviously working on it. Still obviously working on how to talk about this book, but it's good to talk about it. All right, I've been Jay. More videos later.